So I typically look at it as being about four main causes that could happen. One can start early on, usually a medical situation. So if the child is born prematurely or has some issues with latching or sucking, that can start early on and lead to some more feeding challenges, potentially needing a feeding tube and missing those early developmental stages of learning to eat. One of the biggest ones with autistic children is that sensory component. So we know in the autism community already, sensory sensitivities are higher, and food has a lot of sensory components to it. And so it's pretty often that I hear from parents that it's about the time that they're realizing that their child has autism is also that they're realizing that that child is having some feeding difficulties and feeding challenges. The third cause can just be what I lump into being behavioral. So for whatever reason, a child really loves more of like the snacky type foods. They're more into the sugars and the sweets or the salty, and looking at things like meat, like chicken, or vegetables is just not fun for them. And they're not enjoying that. And so they rise to some levels of tantrum type behavior at the dinner table to avoid having to eat those types of food. And the fourth cause that sometimes happens is like a food trauma. So sometimes children may accidentally choke on a food or come close to choking on a food. And then that can really lead to some more food aversion and avoidance of eating.
Yeah, and it's not always easy to tell whether picky eating is in a temporary phase or something more significant. What signs should parents look for to determine if intervention might be necessary?
Good question. I have an entire presentation on this topic that I do, but first and foremost is going to be length of time. So oftentimes children will go through short bursts of phases where for a variety of things. They stop sleeping for a little bit, or maybe they avoid certain foods. But if it's for a short period of time, and I'm looking at usually about a month or so or less, then it's just maybe a change that happened in that child's life. Maybe they started school or they started a new therapy, and they're having some avoidance of more challenging things. But then it starts to level out. Then we would just look at that as a phase rather than something that would require intervention. As regards to some of the foods that they eat, so I look at variety of the food groups. If there are full food groups that the child has eliminated from their diet for an extended period of time, that's going to be a sign that you're going to want to seek some help and intervention there. The volume of food that they're eating. So most of the time it's too little, but sometimes it's actually, especially with the foods that we don't necessarily want them eating a lot of, that they're eating too much of. And so they're having a big volume of food, of the things that are not great for their bodies functioning, and not enough of the foods that they need. And then I look at flexibility in regards to meal times. When you put food down in front of them, are you really having to work on how the food is presented, how you specifically cut the food in a certain shape or a certain way, how you position those items on the plate, how you talk to your child about mealtime? Can they eat in different environments? Can they be at home or at grandma's or out to dinner and be able to eat the same way or not? Those would be the top things I would look at as far as if we're struggling in those areas, then you really want to have some intervention help.